Hey, how's it going, everybody? Charlie Wilson here, aka Sinister Charlie. Welcome back. We've got some military related stuff. If you don't know, I was in the Navy for 6 years. I was in the Seabees, hoorah Seabees. Not like the regular Navy, very different. Never been on a ship, but I have been deployed to Okinawa. I was there for about 7 months back in 2006, I think, something like that. Um, Not my funnest deployment. In fact, it was very depressing for me, but I did have some good times. I miss the food, obviously. Um, yeah, but it's very different than, let's say, like Tokyo or something. In fact, the Okinawans don't even like you. They don't like you to call them Japanese. They're Okinawan. But yeah, this is by Wendover Productions. We're gonna like it. I think I've seen a few of his videos before because I'm subscribed. But yeah, we're gonna check it out. To tell you the truth, the Okinawans don't want us there, especially with the military, and I tend to agree with him, just for the fact of the all the all the DUIs and the assaults that go on, especially Marines and sailors who've been out drinking all night. So yeah, I imagine there's going to be a lot of that stuff in here. So yeah, let's go.
2025, and this place is buzzing. A popular month to visit what's become a popular place to
Summer.
visit, waves of tourists wander the shops and restaurants of Kokusai Street. Splitting south, many then amble into the covered, ever-vibrant Makishi Public Market. It's hot, reaching 90 degrees Fahrenheit or 32 degrees Celsius, so many
Yeah.
visitors, most hailing from mainland Japan, have taken to the island's beautiful beaches or the many national and nature parks littering the island, exploring the comparatively cooler climate of the subtropical forest. And they've taken to other islands entirely, hopping on ferries to explore the natural beauty of the nearby neighbors. Depending on their interests, the tourists spread. The foodie rambles the city,
Oh,
the
the
freediver
food.
heads for the
Oh,
coral-lined
oh,
coast. But on an
I
island
miss
of
it.
only 463 square miles or 1,200 square kilometers, or an island 3/4 the area of Hawaii's Oahu, there's only so far the tourists can disperse.
Yeah.
With some 700,000 visitors arriving a month and a permanent population of 1.5 million, 50% larger than Oahu's, this place is always buzzing. Of course, Friday, October 24th, 2025 is a bit of a holiday in itself in the United States. Fridays in fall mean high school football,
Oh,
and this school
yeah.
is no different as the KBHS Dragons are set to host the Humphrey High School Blackhawks for a game that will crown a regional champion. Now, Americans playing American football with American parents and fans in the stands on a school campus that neighbors a Qdoba, Popeyes, and Burger King on one side and the
Yeah.
suburbs on the other is not novel. But zoom out. This place, it turns out, is also that place, the tiny tourist island with the beaches. And both places are in Japan. This is Okinawa, an island that takes only 2 hours to drive across from tip to tail, and an island that hosts two entirely different worlds at once. This is the
Yeah.
core
I remember I just got done with my what damn it. I just got stationed in Greece and I was coming back. I went back home for a couple weeks and then my next deployment was with NMCB3 in Okinawa. So I had to go fly there. Uh, it is very different because you'll see a lot of Americans like this hanging around the airport. It's just very interesting.
of the American Air Force's presence in the Pacific, and all the
Oh, and I was on Kadena, but I was also on Camp Shields. I'm not sure if I believe that's in Kadena. I don't know. I never got off base that much. Went to a strip club. Also went to go see a banana show when I was in Okinawa. If your if your stomach is a little weak, I would advise against it.
America that comes with it runs headlong into a proud, distinct culture and a densely populated people. With little wiggle room, divergent goals, an imbalance in power, a complicated history, and an uncertain future, for decades there's been a lot of this and this
Yep, a
and
lot
this
of protests.
as worlds and ways of life keep colliding.
I think when I was there was like a protest every weekend. It was a little that's also a reason it was a little hard to get off base.
How things got so hotly contested on this little island is best summarized by the home of Kubasaki High School's rival, Kadena High School. With 717 kids enrolled, it's the largest American high school in Japan. Largest is a theme here. By personnel, at around 20,000, Kadena is the largest American airbase in the Pacific. The 18th Wing, which runs the base and is capable of everything from fighting to resupplying and rescuing, has the largest assortment of planes and helicopters at around 80 pieces of equipment. The Wing's support group, which handles everything from accommodations and logistics to budgeting, recreation, and
nice
mayoral
shot.
duties of the base, is the largest in all the Air Force. And the base itself, hemmed in by urban Okinawa on both sides, boasts a golf course, countless parks.
I went to the golf course. There's a really nice golf course on Kadena because, of course, it's an Air Force base. Why wouldn't there be a really massive, really well-kept golf course?
Parks and sports fields, and a host of suburban housing developments that from above look like they could be from anywhere in Middle America.
Well, I mean,
how this base ended up as the largest is directly linked to the event that gave Okinawa such widespread name recognition. Often recognized as the bloodiest battle in the Pacific, the Battle of Okinawa was also the longest. What would prove to be the last major battle before Japanese surrender, overtaking these islands so comparatively close to the Japanese mainland took months. Making landfall in April of 1945, US troops immediately took the then Japanese Kadena airstrip. With a foothold in the center of the island, US troops based their assaults from the area, including the commandeered airbase. Thus, by the time Okinawa fell, then Japan soon surrendered, the US had already set up operations on the island. As World War II gave way to American occupation of Japan, and as the battle lines of the Cold War began taking shape with an increasingly aggressive North Korea looking to unify its peninsula and a rising Chinese Communist Party, Okinawa seemed a logical position to maintain a US foothold from an American perspective. It made sense from a Japanese perspective.
It's weird how Mongolia is just stuck in the middle of everything, you know? It's sad, really.
Too. Because of Article 9 of this document, the 1945 Constitution of Japan, the country could not make war nor maintain an army. Because of this treaty, for someone to provide defense, Japan would rely on the US, allowing the US to maintain a presence within Japan. And because of Article 3 in this treaty, Okinawa, should the US want to take it on, would no longer be administered by Japan, but would rather be run solely by the United States. By the terms of peace largely dictated to it from the rest of the world, Japan had no reason to push back on the US expanding its presence on Okinawa. It was no longer theirs, and the bases on the island would serve to protect their interests. For the now allied major world powers, it made sense to dot the strategically advantageous island with as many bases and military installations as it could bear. For those on the island, well, they didn't have much say. Beyond the beaches and warm weather, Okinawa's draw for tourists is its differences from the mainland. While Japanese today, and part of Japan from 1879 to World War II, Okinawans are proudly Okinawan.
Oh, yeah.
A distinct ethnicity that celebrates a history and heritage unique to the Ryukyu Island.
Yeah, I called a bartender, I called a bartender Japanese once, and she got really pissed at me. That was on the golf course, actually. It was kind of funny.
While Japan doesn't recognize the population as a minority, the UN has recommended considering Okinawans as an indigenous group in order to begin protecting the local dialect and culture. In many ways, and after many centuries of intermingling, there are plenty of similarities to the rest of Japan, but given the island's largest city is far closer to Shanghai and Hangzhou and Taipei than to Tokyo, there's plenty of Chinese influence too. Different food and a more laid-back way of life has served to bring tourists in recently, but such differences have also had a way of being leveraged in the pursuits of bigger nations. The estimates vary, but 150,000 is the common number cited when discussing how many Okinawans, either civilian or conscripted by Japan, died in the Battle of Okinawa, making them the leading group in casualties. Stuck in the middle, both Japanese and American soldiers at points committed atrocities towards the local population. Once under American command, there really wasn't much consideration as to Okinawan interests either. The island adopted the US dollar, cars drove on the right side of the road, and as Korea then Vietnam required more and more attention and military resources, the US bases expanded across much of the island's most desirable flatlands, pushing a growing Okinawan population to build denser and denser cities.
I was going to say, I was going to say those were Seabees, but I think those are Japanese people.
The expanding presence and comparatively slow economy to that of Japan's, Okinawa pushed for a return to Japanese rule, and in 1972, they got it. But still a pacifist country by its constitution, and still reliant on the US for defense, there was little reason for Japan to question the size and quantity of the bases. And since then, the status quo hasn't really changed. Bases that boomed during the Cold War have right-sized a bit, and some land has been returned here and there, but the map still looks like this. Within these lines, some 30,000 active military members from all branches work, train, and live. Accompanying them are another 50,000 Americans that make living there full-time possible. The family members, the school teachers, and the support staff working for $40,000 a year at the grocery store or $110,000 as a principal at the elementary school. And within the fences of the likes of Kadena Air Base or Camp Foster or Air Station Futenma, there's far more than just the novelty fast food place or high school football stadium to remind one of the connection back to the US. Rather, these simply
That's
are
pretty
the
cool,
US.
actually.
With fully
I never got to go. Kadena's very large, and I didn't get to even see the whole entire thing. And I was there for 7 months. But we were working most of the time anyway. If I was camp maintenance over on Camp Shields. So, like a lot of plumbing and HVAC and stuff like that. It's a nice base, though.
developed pre-K through 12th grade
Big.
educations, after-school activity programs, recreation centers, exchanges that effectively serve as shopping malls, suburban developments, and single-family homes. These bases don't remind of America, they simulate it. And for those born on these bases, including celebrities like Robert Griffin III or Zach Bryan,
I
they're
didn't know
not
that.
born with a dual citizenship or Japanese citizenship, they're born an American citizen. But while fenced in, these bases are permeable, at least in one direction. While Okinawans aren't welcomed into these bases, the Americans stationed here pour out onto the larger islands. With housing at a crunch, service members are asked to live off base, while those living on it are pushed to explore the island when they're off work. And this is where most problems originate.
Yep.
If you've heard Okinawa mentioned in the news lately, it's probably because of this video of a military
boy.
policeman brutally body slamming someone who ultimately turns out to be an American veteran over whom he had no legal jurisdiction.
Oh.
Where this happened and why is informed by the uneasy overlap of two cultures and a set
I
of
know where
rules
that
agreed
is.
upon in 1960. The incident was on Gate 2 Street, where Kadena Air Base gives way to a section of Okinawa City littered with bars and clubs frequented by those working
Hell
at the
yeah.
base. The individual was approached on this street in the early morning hours and was demanded to show identification by American military police. Now, the fact that MPs are patrolling off base to begin with may raise an eyebrow
Yeah,
and
that's a
perhaps the
little odd.
concern of a local Okinawan.
But we had when I was in Greece, we had shore patrol that was stationed. You know, but they'd be in plain clothes, and you'd have to get some kind of verification that they're actually in active duty, or I don't know. It's so stupid. I don't know.
But it's allowed because of the status of forces agreement between Japan and the US, which
So
in
fuck.
this case provides that MPs may patrol off base in special agreed upon circumstances with jurisdiction only over US service members. And why the cops were out asking for identification was because off-base service members are banned from drinking from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. This ban and subsequent patrol was a response to a set of domestic violence cases committed by service members on local women.
There you go.
The effort to curb late-night drinking is not a new strategy on the island, and crime and sexual assault by
Oh,
US
look at
service
this
members
guy. No offense to this guy, but if you more PT.
is not a new problem. High-profile sexual violence and murder cases, followed by massive protests, have rocked the island in the 1990s, the 2010s, and the 2020s. Adding fuel to these massive flare-ups is the locally held belief that only a small portion of sexual violence is fairly reported and subsequently tried by the Japanese and military legal systems on the island. They make a compelling point. Because of the same 1960s status of forces agreement between the two countries, US forces on the island are uniquely protected. For crimes committed on base or on duty, the US has primary jurisdiction, and in these incidents, the paper trail can get light. Through FOIA requests, one reporter found that in pursuit of 7 separate sexual assault investigations on the island from 2017 to 2019, none were made public. As for arrests that happen off base and off duty, while these are pursued and tried through Japan's legal system, the US still has the right to consent to or withhold extradition if the service member made it back onto base.
Yeah, and what's crazy is when you first get to Okinawa, they show you a video, and they show you a video of Americans going to Japanese prison, eating fish heads and rice. I don't think it's like that in Japanese prisons anymore, but it's still pretty harsh. It's definitely not like American prisons. So when you go there, don't get in trouble, please. Thank you.
Even if apprehended off base, the service member can't be taken into custody for questioning before prosecution. Together, these protections make it far harder to build a case and prosecute, so Japan doesn't. From 2001 to 2018, the prosecution rate for criminal offenses committed by US military personnel was 13% compared to the 44% national rate. Because of a deal struck between Japan and the US 6 decades ago, Okinawans feel like they're losing out on fair treatment in the justice system, leaving them uniquely vulnerable. If one major complaint is structural in a legal sense, another is structural in the physical. A simple overhead shot makes it glaringly obvious that the island's most important.
Oh yeah, I was going to say when I was deployed there, we had some Marines like beat up some woman, and it was really bad. And they banned us from buying alcohol altogether for I think a month or something like that. It was pretty crazy. And back then I was drinking. I don't drink anymore, but yeah, they made everybody on base. Like, that's crazy.
Important installations sit right next to densely populated urban areas. Thus, accidents occurring at one are likely to impact the other. That much was the case when a helicopter based at Futenma crashed into the next-door neighbor university in 2004.
No.
While no one died, Okinawans have protested base locations and their sheer busyness over fear that the next accident will be the big one. With 8 crashes in and around the island in 2016 alone, with the arrival of the accident-prone and much-maligned MV-22 Osprey in 2012, with the occasional helicopter part falling and landing on elementary school and daycare properties, locals think it's only a matter of time before luck runs out and one of these many accidents turns into a tragedy. Then there's the less dramatic but dangerous all the same pollution leaking from these military installations. Again, because of the 1960s Status of Forces Agreement, it's really difficult to get an exact picture as to just how much pollution is emanating from these bases and training facilities.
I had to do that sometimes. It's the hazmat cleanup. I got my hazmat certification. Yippee.
Because Japan's not allowed to check. Only when a confirmed spill reaches a confirmed volume can Japanese officials go in and inspect, but otherwise these bases are left to their own devices. But a FOIA request from 2016 has shed some light onto what exactly has been spilled on the island since the 1990s, and it's a lot. Diesel in 2011 and sewer in 2013 from Kadena made its way to the Hija River, which towns and the base itself use for drinking water. PCBs, chemicals banned in the US in 1979, were improperly disposed of somewhere around here in the 70s, and after being mentioned by a whistleblower, sparked a testing program that found contamination across the base. Finally, a revelation over chemical dumping in the ravines around the base in the 1960s came to light in the 2010s, causing major concern for the residents nearby, along with those sending students to these schools. While the official statements told residents that cleanup went well and that there's little to worry about going forward, 107 pages of test results were redacted within the FOIA materials. In addition to what's been dumped in the water and buried in the ground, there's also the air and noise pollution that rocks the island too, as jet fuel fumes and the howl of F-35s are just part of everyday life here. But beyond what the US does at these bases, just the simple fact that they exist at such a scale is a cause for major frustration to Okinawans. 1/5 of the entire island is taken up by the US military, and while the island is compensated for the land, the rent is fairly meager when one considers the economic potential for all this favorable flatland. Take this swath of land here. Since the 50s, this was the Awasi Meadows Golf Course. According to the Americans who played it over the years, it was busy, beautiful, and had an amazing and affordable restaurant in the clubhouse. But returned back to the island,
I think maybe that's where I don't know.
The space serves a lot more.
Oh, no,
There's a massive mall that's hit 10 million customers. There's high-rise housing. There's a hospital. All things that serve local needs and spur the local economy. This isn't an isolated example either. In Naha, there used to be this, the ever-dispersed Makiminato housing project. In 1987, it was returned back to Okinawa, and now it's a bustling commercial center with housing, museums, parks, and shops. A study taken on by the Okinawan government in 2015 calculated that the economic impact of the area as U.S. housing produced $33 million, and after the commercial district had been established, produced about $1 billion.
Yeah, that makes sense.
A 32-fold increase. American-style land use anywhere is rather inefficient, but on such a small island with such a massive population, places like Kadena, with its golf course and its sprawling Marek Park, Washington Heights, Stillwell Park, and Sterling Heights neighborhoods, represent the height of inefficiency, and rent for such land, should it accurately reflect the land's value, would prove absurdly high. But there's little reason to think much is bound to change here anytime soon. While the exact contours of conflict and potential conflict in the far Pacific have changed, the U.S. strategy remains remarkably similar to what it looked like in the 1950s with the establishment of the island chain strategy, where the U.S. would contain Asian communist powers through strategically located Pacific island bases. Split between 2 island clusters, Okinawa sits right on the northern edge of the first island chain and extremely close to the Chinese mainland. Making the island feel increasingly central is China's increasingly aggressive stance towards Taiwan. With Kadena the nearest American base to the island, Kadena's role is not just to project American might in the region, but potentially be the first to provide it. Often referred to as the keystone of the Pacific, no matter the local frustrations over flyovers and pollution, the only reason for Kadena to shrink in size or stature would be one dictated by US military strategists in the context of China's maneuvering. Again, leaving history to repeat itself and leaving Okinawans to deal with repercussions of decision-making by a faraway power. Of course, as a Japanese prefecture populated by Japanese nationals, Japan has a say in Okinawa's land allocation, but from a larger geopolitical standpoint, their interests align with those of the US's, as do their security concerns. From a defense perspective, a bunch of bases far away from the mainland but near the region's biggest threats and potential conflict zones is pretty optimal. Japan hears Okinawan complaints and may even sympathize, but national security concerns outweigh the plight of the island. In fact, rather than questioning bases on the main island of Okinawa, Japan has begun positioning its own missiles on other Okinawan islands as their own military capabilities slowly grow. Recently, military activity on the island has signified that things may look different in the near future. In November of 2025, the 18th Air Wing at Kadena undertook Readiness Exercise BH-261. The goal of the exercise was to test, and through the practice, speed up their ability
fill in potholes. Sorry. It feels like something they would do to us as a punishment. Good story. When I was in Okinawa at Public Works, somebody got in trouble or something. So I don't even remember exactly what happened, but they made us pick dandelions in a lightning storm in the middle of a grass field. I don't know why they did it. So if you want to do stupid shit like that in the military, enlist. All right.
to make runway repairs on the fly. In press releases, it was framed as a successful exercise. From an Okinawan perspective, though, such an exercise is unsettling at best. Preparing to repair runways is an implicit recognition that Kadena is no longer just the forward operating base for the US Air Force in the region, it's potentially also a first target. Not only does Okinawa remain at the mercy of the same large powers that fought over it in World War II, it's increasingly within the crosshairs of a third. For decades, the island has called for a change. Things are in fact changing here, but not necessarily for the better.
Oh, no.
What is only getting better as time goes on, though, if I may say so myself, is this season of Jet Lag the Game. Okay. Right now, you can get caught up on season.
All right, go subscribe or whatever this is. Go do that. Sorry, it's some kind of a streaming service, I would assume, for UK stuff. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, Okinawa, not my funnest deployment, but yeah, it's fine. I honestly don't think we should. I think we should probably downsize, but then again, you know, from my libertarian side, I'm like, hey, man, I don't think we need to be there, but we kind of do now because China keeps threatening to take over Taiwan. So I don't know where to go from there. It should obviously be up to the Japanese people or the Okinawan people, I guess, because there's plenty of other bases across mainland Japan. But I understand the strategic significance of it. It just would be nice, wouldn't it, if we could all just, you know, get along, maybe stop beating each other up drunk in Okinawa. Yeah, that'd be good. Anyway, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Please likey and subscribey down below. Helps out the channel. It makes everybody feel good, especially me. So, yeah. And if you got any suggestions for any videos, put them down in the comments. If you were in Okinawa, what's the craziest thing you ever did? Like I said, I went to a banana show. It's kind of gross. My friend ate the banana. So, yeah, anyway, thanks a lot, and bye.